Hello, good evening, everyone. I hope you guys can see the screen, right? Okay, we are starting our session now. Is my screen visible to you guys? Can anyone just reply me yes or no, why, whether my screen is visible or not? Okay, okay. Thank you so much, guys. Uh, Fine. So first of all, before starting the session, let's first remind this day. 5th June is considered as an World Environment Day, right? So the theme of World Environment Day is, according to us, is to change the biodiversities and all. So we planned out the session for going ahead with some technical stuff and some natural stuff, obviously, right? So today we are going to discuss a lot of things about how you can pursue yourself for the personal interviews, right? Personal interviews is in itself is an important part when we talk about any of the job, when we talk about any of the your interviews, if the students are going for any higher studies or master studies, here as well personal interview plays a very important role. So today's scenario in this competitive world, uh, due to a lot of competitions, we the interviewers plan out their interviews in such a manner to screen the employees, to screen the students according to the stage and the capabilities which is required for that position, right? So personal interviews are tends to be an important part when we go for any of the job or any of the admission process. Now again, if I talk about why this session has become so very important, obviously when you are in the line of competition, interviewer is going to judge you all in all within that 10 to 25 minutes, right? So due to that, you are supposed to required to be very well versed with all your concepts, with all your knowledge and everything, so that the opposite person who is going to be judge you and putting you should be well versed with your things and your your knowledge, obviously. So in that scenario, if at all you are not, if at all you are not you are not ready with your answers, with your skills, with your with your discrimination, I mean say description and everything about yourself, then you will lose there. Why you will lose? Because the interviewer is having only that 10 to 20 minutes of time to judge you based on the position you are applying for. So it is very much necessary for any of the candidate to be very cut point throughout the interview. Okay, so this was the first phase of our today's session. And second thing, when we talk about the second part of the session, will be the corporate communication. Uh, our audience, if I could say, there are many people who are working as in corporate, and if there are students as well, then at the end of your colleges and at the end of your studies, at one point of time, you guys are obviously going to join as a corporate level, right? So it is very much required to get into the skills of corporate communication. All in all, when we talk about anything regarding, your sustainability of your job, it totally depends on the communication which you are having with your subordinates, with your seniors, and with your juniors. Right. So let's go ahead quickly with the presentation and the things which I want to share for. In the beginning itself, I apologize if there are any mistakes, or if there is anything wrong which you felt from your end. Feel free to correct me at any point of time. I will accept that. Okay. First of all, the going ahead with the presentation, if I would say that Achievements Horizon is the institute which has been started in Vadodara. The main aim of the institute to provide all the developmental skills to the candidates who wants to seek their dreams. So the vision of Achievements Horizon is something that if you believe that in yourself, if you believe or having that power, then achievements have already been arisen. So basically, Achievements Horizon is an institute which wants to provide an environment to the students or the candidates, or the ambitious person to dream their ambition, to follow their dreams, and to achieve it very hard. So here is our aim. If you guys feel, you can also visit our Instagram profile. You can also visit our YouTube channels, all the social medias. You will get to know more about Achievements Horizon. If you are wanted to grow, if you have any queries regarding any of the things, we are ready to have you with us for free counseling as well. In our past session which I did before the lockdown, it was the session on resume building, and from my end I personally provided free counseling and resume making to all the students or the candidates who have attended that. So that process is on every time. If you feel that you wanted to make your resume, if you feel you don't know where to start from, feel free to reach me at any point of time. I will be there to helping out for you guys at any difficulty point. Okay. These are some of our crash courses which we have started due to this lockdown and all, to utilize their some part of time, apart from their job, apart from their school studies, college studies and all. These are certain skills which are required at any point of time, if I could say, whether it is a person who is just working as a bank officer, or who is working as a salesperson, any low to high level person who is going for any job, who is pursuing anything right now, let's say even technical persons as well, whether we talk about engineers, whether we talk about commerce students, whether we talk about art students, all the person are required these kind of skills when we enter into the scenario of the actual world, right? Actual corporate world. So these are our courses. You can visit us. You can ask for more details on the number which is mentioned here. We will be there to help you out and sort you out there, if at all, if there is any confusion, or for more details as well, for whole course module, like what all things will be included in the each courses. You can also you can also check that with us by messaging about this course. You can also take the screenshot if you require. Okay. Now coming to our session, which is the very important, as I said, personal interview and personal interview skills. Let's go one by one. Here I am going to discuss the three phases of personal interview. That is the before stage of personal interview, during the stage of personal interview, and the last stage, that means after the personal interview. Now, minding you here that all the three stage plays an important role at their own described time, right? So if I could say that personal interview is, required to go for, or personal interview is something which you guys wanted to go for, then it is required that you first of all think that what all necessity things are there to do before the personal interview and after the personal interview and during the personal interview. Now in this scenario, people are very much tend and I have personally seen the candidates that they are very much concerned about the time duration during the personal interview. You guys gives a lot of importance when we talk about the interview which is going to be happening, but we ignore the phase of before and after the personal interview, which is actually as important as the during the phase of interview. अगर मैं बात करूं कि आपको अभी अभी आपका इंटरव्यू है, then at this point of time you should be well versed with all your things and you are entering into the cabin. But what generally candidates tends to do is they are just worried about the things which is going to be happen inside the cabin. They are not concerned after the interview also, and they are not concerned before the interview or entering into the cabin. So according to my survey and the things and the students and the candidates which I have taught for, all the three stages of personal interview are very very important. Now let's quickly check for the stage before the interview. That means ki before you are entering into the cabin for personal interview, in front of your interviewer, you are required to do these things. Okay, first of all, first thing is practice plus repeat. Now, this is something which is said as, if you have attend my resume session, I don't remember, but yeah, in your resume has been reached to the interviewer before you enter to your cabin, right? But in general, if we talk about, there is a very fixed and genuine question to describe about yourself, right? In any interview, it is very much required you be very well prepared, you be very well versed with what you are going to talk on this question. When interviewer asks you to tell me about yourself or describe about yourself, that 5 to 8 minutes of description plays a very important role. Based on the description which you are giving, the interviewer is going to ask you further questions. The interviewer is going to judge you on that. Sometimes also the interviewer tends to ask you that tell me something which is not mentioned in your resume, right? So in that situation, he is asking you to describe something apart from your education, apart from your achievements. So you should be very well prepared for this. I would say that for this you require a lot of introspection. Now, what is introspection? Introspection is a study of yourself. Whenever you are going and appearing for interview, once first of all you make a resume. After that, before 5 to 10 days of your interview, prepare yourself with the very foremost question by checking the list of things which you are knowing. According to that things, you make a main story wherein you are the hero and you are describing yourself as a hero of the whole things which you have been doing since past, I would say, 15 years, right? So practice and repeat is something that you are describing your body language, your way of behavior, and the most important is your introduction. Second is get ready ahead of time. This is the very important part when we talk about that if we are living in metropolitan cities like Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Surat, Mumbai, right? So in these cities, the traffic plays a very important role. So if your time of an interview is around 10 o'clock in the morning, then I would suggest that you leave home very early by 1 hour earlier, because sometimes it happens interviewer might tend to make you sit for a while to check your patients. Obviously he has that right, but we don't have that right to tend him sit for a while or for a minute even to let him wait for us, right? So always make sure that you reach on time, or I would say before time of your interview. Third and the very important thing is stay calm. Now in this, people have sometimes the tendency that in their unconscious mind they are doing a lot of movements, they are doing a lot of, they are showing some or the other body language which indicates the interviewer that the person is tensed or the person is in the confusion, right? So I notice yourself, this part you can also do while practicing for the interview, right? You notice yourself very well that what all movements are you doing. Some people have tendency to continuously move their legs. Some people have the tendency to move pens from their hand, right, from their palms. So in that situation, be calm, stay very calm. Like, it is not something that a timeout bomb and it is going to be blast. It is just an interview. You are going to be, appearing there. If your whole interview is proper, if your whole position is according to your skills, then you are going to be selected. If it is not, then you are not. There must be some other good opportunity waiting for you. So stay calm. It is not something that you need to, just vomit it out all the things when you are entering into the cabin, right? So stay very calm is a very important point when we talk about the, before interview, when you are sitting in the corridor of the interviewers, right? Okay. Now comes the part which generally any candidates used to miss out. That is research the company to whom you have applied for, to whom you have participated, or at which position you want to go for, is something which is required to know from your end. It is not something you got a mail today and you are appearing for an interview after 12 hours. No. Even if you are appearing after 12 hours, then also it is required that you yourself prepare within that 12 hours and then appear for the interview. You should be well versed with the positions which you are applying. You should be well versed with the company as well. Let's suppose you are applying for any normal interview for the salesperson, then you should be aware that the positions which they are having for the salesperson, the product which they are selling for, how they are going to be capturing the market, what all tools they are using for the sales, right? So the main purpose of knowing this, because interviewer going to ask you about the company which you are applying for, right? It is something you know yourself first, then you know company as well. So both of things are required. First of all, you know yourself that what all skills you are having. You are describing that skills in front of the interviewer. Now he is going to ask that, okay, tell me what you know about my company, why you have applied here, what comes in your mind that you will be the best person for this position, correct? So in this situation, you should be well versed with the position and the company which you are applying. Okay. The third is be on time. That means early, as we discussed. It is both the same. The third is follow up after the interview. It is something which we'll be discussing on the after part of the interview. That is after stage of the interview. But if at all, I would say in the nutshell that before going to an interview, first thing, be very well prepared, introspect yourself very well, take down your all the good points, take down your strength and weaknesses as well. Sometimes interview used to ask that, okay, tell me your strength. So strength is very easy to tell, but on the other hand, weaknesses is very difficult to describe, because it may affect negatively as well. You need to represent it in a positive manner as well. So a lot of introspection is required. Second point is always be calm. Third is research the company very well. Fourth is be ready and stay at before the time for the interview. And fifth is follow up. So I think till here anyone is having no doubt, like all are clear, right? If anyone is having any question, they can raise, I mean, unmute themselves, and they can go ahead for the questions. Any questions to anyone? Okay. Moving ahead with our next, stage, that is tips during the interview. Now, this is what we can say a D-Day, right? You are preparing yourself for an interview since so long, and now it is the time to represent yourself in that 10 to 20 minutes. So make sure there can't be any point in your interview where you can mess it out or where you can do the mistake, right? So let's quickly go ahead with the points. The first is make yourself comfortable. Now, this point is important because you will be sitting here, or you will be, sitting in the cabin for an interview for almost 10 to 20 minutes. So, wherever you are sitting, wherever you are, about, or the interviewer is telling you to sit, first check that whether you are comfortable, then proceed ahead. You can even, if you are not, then you can even say just a minute, and you can make yourself comfortable, and then you can tell, yes, sir, please. Then the interview could be started. So when it comes to the it is a scenario when you are entering into the cabin and you are describing all the things, right? So the first thing is make yourself very much comfortable. Have a firm handshake. Now this is something when the interviews it at the corporate level. Generally, if I bifurcate the students interview and I would say the students or fresher interview, or some person who is having a lot of experience and they are applying for, there is a tendency to have an handshake, right? So handshake is should be very firm, should be very tight, and it should be only two times. Any handshake, whenever you are going for any corporate business thing, make sure your handshake should not be more than two times. It should be firm, it should be gentle, straight, and just the two shake, not more than that. Okay, fine. So handshake should be very firm. The third point is maintain a straight posture. Now, this is, something wherein an interviewer is noticing you. Your way of behavior, your walk, your body language, everything has been noticed by interviewer. Sometimes it is also, said that if it is the students interview, let's say students are, pursuing for masters, then I have seen that there are 5 panels, right? So in that, each person is divided into each task. If I personally say about myself, when I went for an interview, there were 4 people who were continuously asking me one or the other question, but there were one ma'am who was sitting there, and she didn't ask me a single question. I used to, made an eye contact while explaining her. I also made an eye contact and my body posture and everything to the other 4 persons as well, but there wasn't a single question from her end. So that was a take from mine that she is the person who is judging my body language, who is judging my communication skill, who is judging my postures, who is judging my explanation skills and all. Right? So whenever there is an interview, the person who is interviewing you is having a lot of experience. He has seen a lot of people before you are coming up for an interview, right? So always maintain your body language very proper. Always be very straight. It should not be like you are very tired and you are not able to do, and it should not be also like you are not calm, you are unsteady, you are unconscious still behind your mind that you are nervous. It should be very straight, it should be very calm. The interviewer should not even know that what has happened with you in since morning to the interview time, right? Since 10 days what has happened should not be known by him, right? So make sure that your body language plays an important role. So be prepared for that. Fourth is maintain eye contact. Now people, when they are reminding anything, or when they are remembering anything for any answers, they have the tendency to look upwards, to look downwards, and to look some or the other where, up besides the table or the things which have been put up there. Whenever you are explaining anything, any of your point, any of your introduction, always make sure you are having continuous eye contact with the interviewer. That shows that you are having confidence in yourself. Whatever things you are describing is true, that can be judged only when you are maintaining eye contact. So maintain eye contact with them, answer your questions very firmly, very confidently. Okay. Fifth point is smile whenever possible. Okay. Now this point is something which sometimes makes us smile as well. Smile in the sense it should not be you are laughing all the time when the interview is going for. It is something, let's say you said about your introduction that my name is this and I have completed my graduation from here and I am pursuing my master's and these are my achievements. And there was a scene in my volunteer achievements that I got a certificate after 10 days. So here I can give a gentle smile that it was a scenario when I did a lot of hard work, but they forgot to give me the certificate. So, whenever it is possible, whenever they are explaining you anything, let's suppose you said any point or you answered any technical question wrong, they corrected you, they said that it is wrong. So, at that point of time, don't argue with them. Just give a gentle smile and say, "Thank you so much, sir or ma'am, to correct me. I will make this point in my mind and make it clear from the next time." So these are the movements when it is required to give small and gentle smile so that it shows your body language that you are very versatile person. Okay. Third is avoid fidgeting. Fidgeting is something which I also said that when you are nervous, when you are, into some dilemma or confusions, at that time you generally used to fidge. Fidge is something you are continuously a constant movement of your hands or legs or your body without knowing you or in your unconscious mind. So try to avoid that. The best practice, if I would say, for avoiding this is try to observe yourself whenever you are sitting free. If I judge people when I am anywhere at the corporate meetings or anywhere at the lunchtime or somewhere, I used to generally observe people into their own. They might not be aware that what movements they are doing, but I am aware of. So if you want to improve, try to judge yourself when you are sitting in the peace time or when you are sitting in any work or something. Your movements which you are doing during that period is something which you are doing from your unconscious mind. So try to bring your conscious mind when you are having that movement during your unconscious mind. So you will be aware that what movements you are doing and try to stop. Okay. Now, next is correct hand movements are important. Now it is something whenever you are sitting for an interview. Let's suppose you sit on chair and you are describing yourself that what all things are in your introduction. At that time, make sure that you are continuously having movement of your hand. Now, why this is important? Whenever in our training pathway, if I have say for myself, I am trained the trainer certified person. So I know that what all things have been included when you train any people. So when it comes about the hand movement, whenever the hand movements are more, you attract the positivity. So in that scenario, it is not something कि आपने 5 to 10 times hand movements किए and you are selected. No, it is something that whenever you are doing hand movements, that is the open hand movements, it shows that you are not hiding anything, right? There are people who used to sit in the position that the hand in hand movement, right? And they used to describe themselves that this is my name, this is what I did, this is my achievements. So in that situation, that people is hiding something which is an impact the interviewer have in his mind. Okay, his hand movements is something, his hands are folded, so that shows that there is something which he or she wanted to tell, but she or he is not telling. When your hands are open, when you are describing what all things are going on in that scenario, you are telling them that my whole introduction, my whole things is very open. I am not hiding anything. This is what the thing which I said, and this is what my past was. So, correct your hand movements. It is very important, as I said, and make sure you treat yourself or train yourself, I would say, to give moments when you are giving up any introduction, and when you are explaining them any point, even when they are asking any question to you, and you are tend to explain that, okay, what is, you know any technical or non-technical question if they are asking, and then you need to answer that during that period as well. Try to maintain your hand movements, time to time. Okay. The fourth is show interest. Now, this point is something wherein an interview will ask you, you wanted to prefer for the knowledge, or you wanted to prefer for the finance. So, what generally people answer is that, no, I prefer knowledge, right? So, I wanted to learn more and more in this field, so I wanted to go for this job. I would rather say that, be very clear with your point. We are not here to answer, or we are not here to let the interviewer feel that we are the best one. People cannot work without finance. That is the most important part. So here, the thing which you need to say, or the thing which you need to describe is that your company is so much very reputed, your company is so much eligible, and same way I am also eligible and having a lot of knowledge and skills in me. It is just something I want to contribute to your company to take it to the next level, which can avail the growth of me and your company as well. This answer is something which an interviewer will be fascinated for and will be looking for. So make sure that you show your extreme interest in the growth of the organization, and also in the growth of yourself, which indicates them that this person is very much enthusiastic for their growth and for their development, and also for the organization's development, right? So always show the interest for the particular job which you are applying for, and that interest should be also maintained during the job as well. If you are selected, it should not be, like, after 6 months you are tired of this job and you are complaining your friends, your relatives, your parents, is this the job I'm doing? Yeah, see, I'm just very tired of this job. No, the time at the time when the interview was there and you were enthusiastic for your job, that same enthusiasm should be maintained throughout your job, throughout your work. Yeah, there might be ups and downs, but your work should be your first priority always, right? Okay. The ninth is be polite. This point comes when interviewer is rectifying your mistake, or judging your mistakes or correcting your mistakes. Uh, your tendency should not be aggressive at that point of time, even if you are right. There might chances that when you go for an interview and the interviewer is having an experience of 20 years, and he is following an old methodology, and it is not something which is coping up with the current technical methodologies, then there might be clashes, I agree. And there are situations that the candidates are right and the interviewer is wrong, but there is always a way, or I would say there is always a communication process which could be done to correct him or her, or I would say the interviewer. So the answer for any of the rectification or any of the correction is always be polite. If at all the interviewer is saying that the salary which was mentioned in the job description is, I cannot offer you because of your lack of knowledge, I can offer you only 50% of that, then if at all you are not agreed to that point, tell him very gently, tell him very politely, sir, I respect your job, I respect your position, but on the other hand, I need to see my family as well, so I'm sorry. So this is the way, or the polite way, I would say, or the proper communication way which you guys can use while going ahead with the interview, or I would say during the time of any correction or mistakes, right? So this was just an example from my end, obviously, but if at all any other things, let's say he or she is correcting you in the knowledge as well, and you are correct at your point, then also there is a way to explain that. If the argument goes somewhat more bigger, then always tend to cut that argument and accept that they are right, because it is not something which is affecting you personally, I would say. If they are wrong and they are not accepting, then it is their choice. We cannot change their perspective. But yeah, for that being, it is not required to argue as well, right? It creates an I would say negative impact if we go into the aggressive argument. So be polite when you wanted to answer for any anything which is has been into the correction point. Okay. Now, last is leave on a positive note. It is something when your interview has been completed, the last question or the last stage of your interview could be like, you can ask me if you have any doubts or if you have any questions. So if you have any questions, doubts, you can, genuinely ask them. Don't keep it to yourself. It is always good to ask a question and learn the things, right? If you are not able to answer any technical or the, part of your, I mean, the knowledge questions or any skill-based question, if you are not able to answer, then gently ask them. They could explain you more better, right? So leave a positive note that no sir, thank you so much, we'll be waiting for your reply, we'll be waiting for a positive reply, right? So be very gentle when you are leaving. The face of yours should be in the mind of the interviewer whenever you are leaving the cabin, right? It could be only happen when your body language, your postures, your politeness, your communication is all proper. Even we have noticed sometimes that a person who is having a lot of knowledge and skills have been given less marks than the person who is having a good communication and good body language and answerable skills. So in that situation, it happened that people are not seeking for knowledge and skills. Sometimes they are seeking for an organizational culture, right? So in that situation, they are seeking for a person who is, it's fine, who is having who don't have a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill. It's fine if they are having good culture. But on the other hand, if a person is having a lot of knowledge but no culture, then they might abstract there, right? So this was the part of during interview. If you guys have any doubt, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions.
मैम, ये फर्स्ट वाले में हमारी पोजीशन कैसी होनी चाहिए हैंड की, और कैसी तरह बैठना चाहिए इंटरव्यू में?
Okay. Whenever you are entering into the cabin, first of all, wait for few seconds till the time interviewer would say you that come in, please sit. Right. So whenever you are sitting there, make yourself, first of all, whatever things you are having in your hand. Let's suppose you are having your certificates or your your resumes or anything. Place it over the table. Pull up your chair, sit very straight, and be in the same position with the interviewer, right? So let's suppose the chair which is provided there has been a very heighted chair, and your height in that comparison is small. So you can pull that chair towards downwards and then sit very properly and straight and go ahead with the interview. And again, on the handshake, I would say your handshake should be the straight handshake, like it should be in the line with the interviewer. The hand the interviewer is giving to you and the hand which is forwarded from your end should be at the same line, right? And the posture of your hand should always be straight. It should not be like you are tired and your hand is upside down. So when the doubts which you ask for, sit very straight, make yourself very comfortable. Your edge should be with the edge of the table, right? So your diaphragm, if I could say, your diaphragm should be according to the table which they have been provided you.
और मैम, हमारे हाथ टेबल पे रखने चाहिए?
I would suggest not to keep, नहीं रखना चाहिए, because you can put up your files and your papers there, and then keep your hands over yourself and over the chair. Because there is a courtesy which I would feel that interviewer won't like if you go ahead with the hand movement on the table, right? So try to avoid, if possible, not to keep your hands over the table.
ओके। और मैम
Yeah.
ये हाथ की मूवमेंट में कैसे होना चाहिए, मतलब करेक्ट हैंड मूवमेंट आर इम्पोर्टेंट, उसमें कैसे होना चाहिए?
करेक्ट हैंड मूवमेंट में मैंने जैसे बताया, आप लोगों को व्हेनेवर यू आर डिस्क्राइबिंग, योर हैंड शुड बी इन दी ओपन पोजीशन। ओपन पोजीशन मतलब आप कुछ भी एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हो, कोई भी पॉइंट समझा रहे हो, आपके हैंड्स और फिंगर्स ओपन होने चाहिए, एंड यू शुड बी कंटिन्यूअसली मूविंग फ्रॉम योर लेफ्ट टू राइट हैंड, राइट? इट शुड नॉट बी कि आप हैंड फोल्डेड बैठो, राइट? आप ऐसे आप टेबल पे हैंड नहीं रख सकते, तो व्हाट यू विल डू, यू विल फोल्ड योर हैंड्स एंड सिट, and then if they're asking anything, आप ऐसे other पैसे बैठोगे, and then you will be answering everything. So that creates a negative impact. So your hand movement should be, you are continuously moving your hand from one place to other and explaining your point. Let's suppose you are explaining your graduation and your, education qualifications, right? So according to that, you can say, you can figure out that first I completed my masters from this university, then I completed my BCom, or I would say the graduation from this university, then I completed my HSC SSC from this city, from this board. So in this situation, what you are telling, you are giving them a list. So you can use your fingers and you can point it out: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? Even in the achievements, if you are describing your achievements, let's say you are a writer, you are a blogger, you are you are a very sports person, you achieved a gold medal in the sports, you achieved the silver medal in any of the competition, quiz competition. So describe it as a list wise, right? So in that description, use your fingers and palms to describe your list. That will show that, okay, the fingers are also getting less when you are describing your achievements are more than 5 or 10. So that shows a positive impact when you are moving your hands very correctly, and when you are openly telling everything to them. Okay, any more questions?
और ये मैम लास्ट वाला है वो लिंक लीव अ पॉजिटिव नोट्स, उसमें क्या है, उसमें कैसी
और
तरफ है?
उसमें यही है सर, आप जब भी वहाँ से लीव कर रहे हैं, आप जब भी कैबिन छोड़ रहे हैं, एट दैट टाइम ऑलवेज से थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू मैम फॉर दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी, or you can always say that waiting for your positive reply. You can also say that we'll be hearing you back soon. So this shows that you are still interested, you wanted to go ahead with the job, and that interviewer will having your face in the mind that, okay, this person is having a positive note in himself or herself that they wanted to go for this job,
और मैम
right?
इंटरव्यू खत्म हो जाए उसके बाद हम वो सामने वाली जो टेक्निकल फैकल्टीज है उनसे हम क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं?
Yes, of course. They will tell you that if you have any queries, you can ask. So at that point of time, if you are having any doubts, if you are having any queries, you always feel free to ask them. Try to avoid the question of salary or finance, I would say, because that could be discussed again when you have been called for. So
ओके।
when they are asking for any question to ask at that time, आप लोगों को सिर्फ जो questions आपको समझ में नहीं आए हुए इंटरव्यू के टाइम पे, या तो आपको कोई टेक्निकल स्किल जो उन्होंने पूछी हो वो समझ में नहीं आई हो, तो आप उसके ही बारे में पूछिए उनसे. uh, Avoid to ask the questions for finance and salary. Avoid to ask the questions कि मुझे आप इसका result कब मिलेगा, right? You can ask the question, sir, I didn't get that sales operation. What is sales operation, which you have asked me, right? So you can ask that question, sir, what is sales operation? आपने question पूछा, मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, मेरे पास आंसर नहीं है, आप मुझे बता सकते हैं मेरे नॉलेज के लिए. So that could create a good impact in them. Okay, the person in front of me is not knowing anything, but he wanted to learn, right? So they will answer you obviously that, okay, this is what the sales operation works for, और वो आपको समझाएंगे पूरा. And then you can say that, thank you so much sir, and I will always I will tend to find in detail, मैं इसके बारे में in detail भी पता लगाऊंगा क्या है क्या नहीं है. Thank you so much sir. Then they might again ask you, okay, still you do have any doubts, you have any queries, you can ask, you can tell them, no sir, thank you so much, waiting for a positive response. Then you can give a smile and then you can leave the office, right? So this is what is all about. Any more doubts or queries anyone is having?
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Moving ahead with our, next stage of an interview, that is tips after the interview. Now, uh, this stage is something wherein candidates always used to fail. Why? Because they might not aware of this stage as well. Okay, first of all, that tips after the interview is, make a thank you whenever the interview is completed. You are giving a thank you note. Uh, Leave the firm or the organization, right? When you are leaving the firm and organization, uh, after your interview, try to connect with them. If they are not connecting you, try to connect with them within 3 to 4 days for the follow up, that ma'am or sir, I have been given this interview at this time and I would be waiting for the reply, right? If they are giving you any excuses, if they are going ahead with any things which they wanted to ask for, then they will ask you and then they will discuss you further. Generally, people don't used to connect again and assume that you or I have not been selected. हम लोग ऐसा मान लेते हैं कि 2 दिन में या 3 दिन में कॉल नहीं आया, so then we are not selected for. Like if at all there is no salary discussion has been done, no finance part has been discussed, nothing has been gone for, that means we assume that we are not supposed to be selected for this interview. So try to get a follow up from them, that sir or ma'am, may I know that what is my status, or may I get the update for the status whether I have been selected or not, so that I can look for more opportunities, right? So be very polite when you are asking this question to them, but at the same time be very much frank about asking the question whether you have been selected or not. Of course, you should also, make a reminder to them about your whole interview that has been done, because whenever you are giving an interview, there is not only one person who will be applying for. There will be n number of persons who will be looking for that interview, right? So after interview, your first step is first, introspect again yourself, that आपका interview कैसा रहा, how whole your interview was. After that, check yourself कि आपकी mistakes कहाँ थी. Why this I'm telling for? Because it is not that आप first interview में गए और आप select हो गए. There are chances that you need to give more than one interviews, right? So the first interview mistakes which you have did, if you have been noting that mistakes, if you have been writing that mistakes will be in your mind. You won't be repeating that mistake again in the next interview. There are chances that you will do other mistakes, but mistakes are the part of learning always, right? So make sure that the things or the mistakes which you did in your first interview should not be repeated in the second one. Do new mistakes, right? I always guide students, or I always tell students, don't repeat your mistakes, always do new mistakes, because the life is very small when it comes to mistakes. So you're if you're repeating the mistakes, you are not doing new mistakes, and if you are not doing new mistakes, you are not learning new things, right? So always make sure that the things which you did in the first interview, you introspect yourself again. Okay, this question was right, this question was wrong, I should not answer this question in this manner, I should change it. अब ये सारे points लिखो in your notes, right? Then again rebuild yourself for other interview, for the next interview. The second, first of all, introspection, then second is take a follow up if they are not approaching you, as I said. The third is, generally if they are approaching you for an interview, then be very frank as a part of finance, right? It should not be the hesitation. Generally, if they are the MNC companies or very big giants, they have the fixed slab, you cannot change that slab of salary and everything. But if there is any local firm, or I would say if there is any local or the medium range companies, then you can tell what all things is there in your mind regarding the finance and what are your expectations. Be very frank and gentle. Also be negotiable in the same, like if it is not affecting your journey of finance throughout, then feel free to negotiate with them. uh, that would be the third stage, I would say. And at the fourth stage, I mean at the fourth point which I would like to discuss is, uh, whenever you are taking any follow up, whenever you are asking for the results, or approaching that person again, be very gentle. If at all they say no, at that point of time, also be very gentle that thank you so much sir for this opportunity, I learned a lot of things. If they are saying you yes, then also leave a note that I will give my best to the company to reaches to make company reach for the growth and development. So whether you have been selected or not selected, always stay positive while after your interview, so that we can go ahead for the next interviews or continue with our job which we have been selected for. In either of the cases, staying positive is very important part after the interview has been completed, after you are supposed to getting the results as well, right? Okay, so here were the three stages of the interview which I was discussing for. I think we are lacking a lot of time. I discussed, more things in the interview, so we'll quickly go ahead with the corporate communication. Corporate communication, as I said before as well, is an important part wherever and wherever you are going for. Whether it is a technical firm, whether it is a non-technical firm, whether it is any of the finance, you can even go through the job slabs as well. आप engineer हो, professor हो, teacher हो, doctor हो, even if you are a simple salesperson, a great manager, any person is required to know the corporate communication skills, right? Without that, nothing could be happen or nothing could go as well. The first thing which I would like to discuss about the corporate communication is what all things are included in that. What things we could be considering that these are the corporate communication. The first is communication skills, second is listening skills, third is communication in organization, writing business letters, writing circulars, memos, etc., report writing, email writing, oral communication, employment communication, that means resumes, cover letters, etc. Now, I will just go through each one of them in the very description, I mean, in the very small description. Generally, these are the terms which are very in the layman language, common language में ये सारी terms है. You guys can easily understand this all terms because you can read it out as well. You can understand that okay, communication skills. Now here the point is which type of communication skills I am talking for. Communication skills are something which is saying you the politeness or the way of behavior you are doing with your seniors, with your subordinates, and with your juniors. So how you should behave with your manager, that is the most important question. Now it comes that you cannot talk with your manager like hey buddy how are you, okay, and at the same time you cannot talk with your subordinate hello good morning, hello good morning, no. With your subordinates you will be always like a cheering person because you guys are at the same level. You will always say them hey buddy what's up, but that same thing couldn't be said to your manager, right? So communication skills include the way of behavior you are doing with all the three levels. The your questions, your way of asking, your way of speaking differs from each layer to each layer, right? So that is the first thing. Second is listening skills. Now listening skills is not only important in the corporate communication, but it is also important in any of the communication, whether it is personal, whether it is corporate, whether it is professional, right? Why? Because people generally tends to speak more rather than to listen more. It was the thing when people cultivate themselves. Why? Because uh, during this stage of digitalization, I would say, or the technologies have been growing so fast, people wants to put up their point first. Why? Because no one is there to listen them. Like if at all I say about my मैं कब से बोल रही हूँ, right? You guys are listening to me very calmly, muting yourself all, and everything is very so much good. But now you must be having patience of that 1 hour. Okay, let's just complete it, and I want to speak my questions, I want to ask my doubts. Ruchi, please stop there. Right? So people wanted to make up their point very fast, very first, without listening to the point that what other person wanted to say for. Like that same thing is applied for whether it is corporate or personal communication. Always tend to listen. The manner in which you listen also differs. I have the tendency, like I was not a person who can teach online. Why? Because I have a tendency that I could explain more better when the person is in front of me. I want constant eye contact with the students or candidates who are sitting in front of me. Even in my personal life, if at all I am sitting anywhere and I'm describing anything to my parents or my friends or my close ones, right, at that point of time I need some space that they look in front of me. Then only I could feel that they are listening. If I am explaining them anything, I am having my eye contact with them, and if they are not having that eye contact, I feel like they are not listening. That same thing applies to every individual. Right? It seems like you are talking and talking and no one is listening to you. Right? So in that scenario, always be very patient while you are listening to anyone's point. If at all you are listening to your manager, there could be chances that you are having some kind of hatred, that 10-20% of hatred, that he is manager and I am his subordinate, I mean the junior. So that hatred should be kept aside for a while, because he might be discussing something important about the policies or changes. When you are listening to your subordinates, there might be chances that they are discussing their personal life as well. They are discussing your professional life, that these are the ppts, I want to cope up everything, this and that and all. So give themselves some time to speak. Even if you are having good solution with yourself, then also first of all try to listen them completely. In the middle of that, even you are having the solution that sir, I already know this policies, I don't need a brief description. Don't let them stop there. Or even if your subordinate is asking you, or even if your junior is asking you that, sir, I wanted to know about how the sales thing or how the marketing skills work, and after he is telling you end, और फिर वो अपना क्वेश्चन कंटिन्यू करना चाहता है, तो उसको वो क्वेश्चन कंप्लीट करने दो. देन यू से ओके, मार्केटिंग इज समथिंग, ऐसे ऐसे होता है, ये ऐसे ऐसे होता है. Right? You know the question, I know that. But that person wants to describe you that how detailed his query is, right? Or how detailed you need to answer that thing. So always be very calm while listening to someone. Third is communication in organization. Now, it is something that whenever you are in the corporate bound, that means the four walls or the four boundaries of your, space area or organization area, you should be very professional. You are entering into the lunch room or in the rest room. At that time, you can be chilled out. You can be very friendly person kind of thing, right? But when it comes to an organizational structure or organizational part, then your communication should be very decent, very polite, very formal. Okay, then comes the writing business letters. Writing business letters these days have been exhausted completely, because now the emails has taken over this. But somewhere in MNC companies, still there are presence of business letters. They generally used to have that thing in the written format so that everyone could be acknowledging that, right? So business letter is a kind of letter generally people or seniors used to ask to their juniors. And even sometimes if there is any complaint or if there is any grievance, then the junior subordinates would write to describe this in the form of letter and then submitting it to the managers, right? So this is a business letter. Then it comes to writing circulars, memos, etc. Writing circulars and memos is a part, generally the sales companies are having more, because they used to give the tenders, they used to give the circulars to the different part all over the companies. So that is also playing a lot, not that much huge role these days. Then comes the report writing. Report writing is playing important role these days. You are mentioning everything whatever you did throughout the day in the form of report. You are submitting it each day. You you know, people tends to describe themselves or their things which they did in a very particular manner. पर्टिकुलर इन द सेंस सब कुछ वो पूरे एक मेल में लिख देंगे, फ्रॉम द पिन पॉइंट टू द ह्यूज जायंट एक बॉल. So it you know, these days people tends to even show off that okay, I did this thing, okay, I did the thing which could be described in only one statement or in one or two statements or in a small paragraph. They used to write in the whole, you know, bunch of 2 to 3 paragraphs and the big report. Manager or the senior person is not going to check that at all. What they want is cut to cut the description of what you did today. Right. So it is not required to discuss that you solved these many issues, you have did this things. No. It is just the simple report that okay, I solved this queries today. This was my task for today, and this much is running on. This much has been completed. That's it. So report writing is something. It should be very small. It should be thorough. It should be point to point. Then comes the email writing. Okay, email writing is the very important part of communication in the corporate level. Whatever things are there in your mind, always write in email. Never ever have oral communication with your seniors, with your subordinates regarding any of the task of organization, regarding any of the queries of the organization. My personal belief says that if at all you wants to change even your fan, you know, from one end to, I mean your fan, let's say a table fan from one end to other end, then also write an email. Mention your things which you have been passing through or which you have been facing for in the form of email. Keep into the CC or BCC, whosoever person needs to, you know, check the email. Write subject line very properly. The subject line should not be so long as well. It should just describe the subject of your email. Your email body should not be too long, it should not be too short. Obviously it depends on the things or the matters which you want to discuss, but again always have a solution, that is dear or hello. Always have the greetings. You can say good morning, good evening, or I would say good noon. Or even sometimes you can even, you know, write greetings of the day. They can assume whenever they are, you know, opening the mail. uh, if at all there is something serious issue which you wanted to discuss, for mention that issue very, you know, firmly, very point to point. Always at the end of the email, make sure you are giving a thanking note, that is thanks and regard, according with your name, with your job number, I mean the identity number, or if you're not having that, then the position which you are holding for. Right. Of also, if you are attaching anything, if you are, you know, giving anything in as an attachment, make sure that you are mentioning that thing, that here I am you know, attaching this thing, or kindly find the attachment. Right. Make sure whatever things you are attaching, you are mentioning in the mail. Right. So as I said, email writing is very important. In detail, if you want to learn more and more about all this fundamentals, you can also join the crash course. In detail everything has been mentioned there. Then comes the oral communication. Oral communication, as I said, is it should be very formal with the seniors and the subordinates when you are in the company premise. Outside company premise, whatever relations you are having, you can go ahead with that. If your manager is your friend, and if your subordinate is, you know, someone x person, then you can behave the way you want to with them. But during the oral communication, there is an organizational structure which you need to follow. You cannot say your manager with the name of his or her, and you cannot, talk with your manager without, saluting them as a sir or ma'am, right? So, oral communication should be very formal when you are in the company premise. Okay. The last and the important is the employment communication, that is resumes and cover letter. Resumes and cover letter are something which is important when you are going for an interview again. Uh, in my previous lecture, if I would say about the resumes, I describe how to build your resume and each and every point regarding that. But all in all, if I say that your hard work of your 15 years and your whole knowledge and your skills and your achievements have all been mentioned in that 2 pages. Right. So you must be very skillful while you are writing your resumes, while you are mentioning your things. It should not be any grammatically wrong. It should not be the whole description kind of thing again. And it should be taken into the consideration that when you are reaching the form, interviewer is having an identity in their mind by seeing your resume. So your resume identity and your original identity as a person should be matched. Your resume should be describing all the things which you are in an actual person. Right. So employment communication covers these two things, that is resumes and cover letter. So resume is, as I said, plays an important role. Try to make your resumes in a very formal manner. I'm not saying it should be very attractive. I'm saying that it should be very formal. Mention all your points, all your things, and also I would say that resume is having a criteria that it should be only of 2 pages, maximum 2 pages. Even I would rather say that it should be 1.5 page. The second page should be blank. Second page should be half blank, or I would say 75% it should be blank. Okay. So this is all about corporate communication includes, right? If you have any doubts, you can go through that. Then I will quickly move further because we are moving less with the time. Anyone is having any doubt? Okay, moving ahead, elements of personal communication. Now, when we are talking about the corporate communication by an individual, what matters, what things which could be included and which is noticed more. When I discussed about personal interview as well, we said that body language plays an important role. Similarly, whenever you are communicating with any of the person, your body language, your voice tone and your words have been given some priorities, right? So the more priority which is given to anything is your body language, your way of posture, your way of hand movement, your way of leg movement. Everything is required to be very constant, everything is required to be very firm, right? So in this situation, your body language plays important role. It should be very firm, it should be very good as discussed. Make sure you mold yourself from today itself for your body language. People generally used to go ahead with the personality development courses and all. They are affecting some or the other ways for their body language, for their time management, for their calmness, stress management, everything. So if you can inculcate by yourself as well, as I said, you can introspect yourself whenever you are free and all. So body language, improve it from today itself after the session. Then 38% has been given to the voice or tone. Now here I wanted to give an example. We are lacking with time, but still I will give. We used to say that this is my book, right? So it is a general statement that okay, this is my book. Now if I'm saying that this book is mine, here I am telling, giving priority to myself and showing a possession that the book which is here is only mine. right? So tone plays a very important role when you are saying or describing anything. You can say, even if you are saying that hi, how are you, and if you are saying that hi, how are you, there is a difference, right? Even if you are saying good morning, or people generally used to say morning. So there is a difference. It should not be only morning, it should be good morning, or it should be like have a nice day. And if you are saying that have a nice day, there should be a tone, there should be a position, and there should be a way when you are describing or when you are explaining anything, right? If at all I would be continuously in the same tone, okay, corporate communication is something which we should inculcate in ourselves. Corporate communication includes, then you people are going to obviously get tired and going to leave my session. You won't be interested. Similarly, people whom you are talking with are expecting you to be very nice, to be very polite, and to be very energetic while you are talking with them, right? So, your voice, your tone is an important point here. Always make sure your tone is very much polite. It should not be very taunting. It should not be very negative as well. And only 7% has been given to the spoken words. Sometimes words doesn't seems to be important in communication, whether we talk about corporate or the personal. Words are something which is just describing the feelings, but on the other hand, if your voice is enough to describe that feelings, then you are not required to go with the words, right? So words have been given a very less importance. Generally, people or candidates used to come to me and say that, "Ma'am, I don't know how to talk in English. I don't know how to, inculcate myself in speaking when there is social gathering and all. Like, I don't know where to start the talk." I simply just say them, you just, give the hand movement, you just give the, yes or no movement when they are talking. Like if there are four people who are talking about, about the economy due to this coronavirus, then you just go there and say, yeah, yeah, very true. Mm-hmm. Correct, correct. I also agree to this. You just say this much. You will be themselves including in the argument and in the talk, and then you come up with a point that according to me, by this time economy will be at the fledge. Why? Because Vijay Mallya has been captured from somewhere. Like अभी ऐसे chances है कि वो आ जाएगा तो उसके पैसे हम लोग ले लेंगे, अभी economy stable हो जाएगी. So this is the thing which inculcate yourself when you are communicating at the corporate level as well. Your words are not seem to be important. You just enter into the group, you just give some of the body movement, you just give some of the tone or voice movement, and you are in that communication part, right? So this is the elements of communication. Okay, now I think this is the last thing, communication at workplace. These are the some skills and tips which we are including, as this we already discussed before, but we'll quickly go through this. First is communication skills and tips, which says that listening skills. There is no way to be good communicator without listening. This has been discussed a lot of time with my students and here as well. But what is important is to listen carefully with intention. Now, as I said that people don't listen or don't have an eye contact when they are listening to someone, then it is required that you listen very carefully to the opposite person what they are telling. Use of body language. The signs and signals of your body always sends messages to your partner, right? Now, as I said that your body language is like tired, and if you are not straight in your postures, then it indicates that to your opposite person that you are not interested in this talk, right? So it should be very well versed. Be confident. If you are introvert and unsure, there are many tips and techniques that are helpful to learn. When you are confident, it is easy for other person to trust you and rely on you. Obviously, if you are saying that, if let's say if your manager is telling you, okay, this is the task which you need to, will you be able to do? So if at all time you are like, okay sir, I will do, it should not be like that. It should be, yeah, sir, sure, I will try my best. This shows the confidence in yourself that, okay, even if it is not possible from your end to do this particular task, you are still ready to give a try, right? So always be confident in your body language, in your tone. The next is be clear and concise. This plays a very important in corporate communication. When I said for report writing as well, and when you are describing anything, all the corporate meetings, all the corporate discussion should be cut to point. It should not. It shouldn't be long one. Why? Because the people who are at corporate levels, whether it is you, whether it is your seniors, whether it is your subordinates, everyone are there with a particular time period only, right? You are having only 8 hours to work for. So in that 8 hours you cannot spend your 4 hours for the long discussions. So whatever your point is, make sure what your point is, clear your point and put up in a very simple manner and in a very positive way, right? Next is be positive and patience. Obviously the positive attitude has a huge power for successful relations in business. Remember that it is always a pleasure to speak with a positive person. Of course, whenever we are going in the morning and if people say yaar corona se to ekdam thak gaya hu, and if at all there are people who say, oh it's so nice after this whole corona and everything we are back to our office and it feels so good after coming outside, right? So there is always a person who attracts positive people, right? If at all you are positive, more people are going to attract. They will come and tell, oh हाँ कितना time हो गया तुझसे मिले हुए, right? So this is what the tendency of the people is, and this is what the whole world runs for. So always be positive, always be patient, be respectful. This plays an important role when you are at the higher level and you are having two or three people as a junior under you. It is not something that if they are your junior they are not eligible to get respect. Of course they are eligible for respect. Every human being needs respect and appreciations. They need a motivation kind of thing at each point of time when they are doing any work, right? So appreciations and respect is something which you can give free of cost, राइट. सो किसी को ऐसा बोलने में कि वाह बहुत अच्छा काम किया, उसमें आपका या उसका कुछ भी गलत नहीं होने वाला है, right? Even if he has did any mistake in that work, you can tell that it is fantastic work. I just want to rectify only one thing, that can you just move this place from here to here. So what that shows that, okay, you are respecting, you are acknowledging their work in a positive manner. You are just telling them a mistake that was done not intentionally, and you are correcting it, right? So always respect your juniors, your subordinates. Of course manager ki to aap respect karoge hi, right? So this is what all about the communication at workplace. I would like to ask questions here. If anyone is having any doubt, any queries, they can go ahead very quickly. You can unmute yourself, guys, if you are having any doubt. You can ask the questions.
मैम अगर इंग्लिश में कंफर्टेबली बोल नहीं पाता हूँ और प्रोफेशनल की तरह इंग्लिश बोलना है तो कैसे बोल सकते हैं?
अगर आप इंग्लिश प्रॉपर नहीं बोल पाते हैं तो आपको इंग्लिश प्रॉपर क्यों बोलना है? My simple answer here is be always comfortable in the language which you are okay with. ऐसा नहीं बोल रही हूँ कि आप इंग्लिश सीखिए ही नहीं, आप इंग्लिश सीखिए, इट विल टेक टाइम, राइट? बट ऑन द अदर हैंड इट इज़ नॉट कंपल्सरी कि आप इंग्लिश बोल के मिस्टेक्स वाला कोई भी लैंग्वेज बोलो, राइट? इफ एट ऑल यू आर नॉट ओके विद इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज, स्पीक इन हिंदी. लाइक मेरा नाम ये है, मैं ये करता हूँ, मैं वो करता हूँ. पहले 2-3 टाइम पे आपको ऐसा होगा यू आर स्पीकिंग इन हिंदी, राइट? देन gradually cultivate that whole thing into the English. My name is this, I'm doing this, I completed my graduation in this way. So the problem is not at all the language when it comes to communication. The problem is always about the words and the tones, as we discussed, right? अगर मैं इंग्लिश में कंफर्टेबल हूँ, मान लो मुझे इंग्लिश आता ही नहीं है, मैं हिंदी में ही बोल रही हूँ, तो भी आप लोगों को तो समझ में आएगा ही कि मैं क्या बोलना चाहती हूँ या क्या समझाना चाहती हूँ. Like language is never a barrier for any communication. Your communication skill is always a gift or a barrier in the form of way which you are doing. Still many people wants to learn a lot of English because the trend is English these days. You can try to make your own dictionary. First of all, try to get 5 words each day विच यू आर लर्निंग, बिकॉज हम इंग्लिश बोल क्यों नहीं पाते हैं, कभी किसी ने ऐसा रीज़न देखा ही नहीं है. According to me and the things which I faced or did with the candidates or the students who are coming to me, that they don't know the words. अगर मुझे उर्दू में कुछ बोलना है या तो लिखना है, उसके लिए मुझे उर्दू के शब्द तो पता होने चाहिए. मैं हिंदी में पहले ये लिखूंगी कि वाह, ये बहुत अच्छा है. अभी मुझे उर्दू में वाह और बहुत अच्छा का कोई शब्द ही नहीं पता, तो मैं कैसे बोलूँगी? अगर मुझे पता है कि उर्दू में बहुत अच्छा है उसको बोलते हैं सुभान अल्लाह, राइट? सो आई कैन यूज दैट वर्ड सुभान अल्लाह इंस्टेड ऑफ वाह बहुत अच्छा है. वाई? बिकॉज आई एम नोइंग दैट वर्ड. Similarly, in Gujarati, if I would say, or all over India, people used to convert the language. आप पहले हिंदी में या तो अपनी मदर टंग में कोई एक स्टेटमेंट सोचते हो और उसको कन्वर्ट करते हो. अभी वो कन्वर्जन में प्रॉब्लम ये होता है कि आपको उसका एक्चुअल वर्ड नहीं पता होता है कि उसको कन्वर्ट कैसे करें. तभी आप रुक जाते हो, आपका माइंड आपको कुछ आंसर नहीं देता और आपको हिंदी में या गुजराती में या तो फिर अपनी मदर टंग में बोलना पड़ता है. सो फर्स्ट थिंग इज, मेक अ स्मॉल डिक्शनरी. आप दिन के कोई भी 5 वर्ड्स, नए 5 नए इंग्लिश वर्ड्स देखो, कहीं पे पढ़ रहे हो तो उसको लिखो, उसका मीनिंग लिखो. उसको याद रखने का मैं बिल्कुल नहीं बोल रही, नेवर रिमेंबर द इंग्लिश वर्ड्स एट ऑल, नो. जस्ट डू द डिक्शनरी. उस 5 में से मान लीजिए आपने एक दिन में 5 वर्ड्स लिखे, दूसरे दिन आपको 3 वर्ड्स मिले और तीसरे दिन आपको फिर से 5 वर्ड्स मिले. So in total you are having 13 new words with you in the 3 days. Now there is 100% श्योरिटी that वो 13 में से आपको शायद ही 2 या 3 वर्ड्स पता हो. मुझे वो 3 वर्ड से ही मतलब है, मुझे बाकी के 10 वर्ड्स से कोई मतलब नहीं है. वो 3 वर्ड आप कुछ इस तरीके से यूज करो वेन एवर यू आर राइटिंग अ स्टेटमेंट, वेन एवर यू आर यूजिंग योर टोन और कम्युनिकेशन, दैट इट इम्पैक्ट्स यू पॉजिटिवली. आपको एक कॉन्फिडेंस आए कि ओके, द वर्ड्स विच आई लर्नड इज आई एम यूजिंग समवेयर, राइट? सेकेंड थिंग, आई वुड सजेस्ट, रीड अ लॉट ऑफ इंग्लिश बुक्स. सबसे पहले स्मॉल स्टोरी बुक से स्टार्ट करो, देन यू गो अहेड विथ सम गुड बुक्स विच आर हैविंग अ हाई लेवल थिंग्स, आई वुड से. देन यू गो अहेड विथ सम, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अगर आप बुक्स रीड करो, ऑलवेज चूज अ बुक विच इज इंटरेस्टिंग टू यू, आपको जो पसंद हो. बिकॉज क्या होता है कि पीपल पीपल यूज टू टेल ओके, रीड अ बुक दैट हाउ टू इन्फ्लुएंस फ्रेंड्स एंड पीपल, आपका कम्युनिकेशन अच्छा होगा. या द पर्सन हु इज लर्निंग इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज कैन नॉट रीड दैट हैवी बुक, और अगर वो रीड करने बैठेगा, वो 2 चैप्टर पढ़ेगा, बुक को छोड़ देगा, एंड अल्टीमेटली ही और शी विल टेल दैट मुझे बुक्स पढ़ना अच्छा नहीं लगता. स्टार्ट रीडिंग द बुक्स विच यू आर इंटरेस्टेड फॉर. Gradually make yourself comfortable with the books which are somewhat technical. You पढ़ाई करते time when you are in the Hindi medium or the Gujarati medium or the mother tongue medium school, and all of a sudden in the college when you are getting into the English medium school, you used to read the books, right? आपकी जो syllabus की books है वो आप English में ही पढ़ते हो. क्यों? Because that is the compulsion thing. फिर ultimately compulsion होता है तो marks कम आते हैं. Why don't you start reading something which is including yourself in that, right? So the solution for learning the English language is only one, that first of all gain a lot of words and the language information, that how it works. Read a lot of books, get some new words day to day, and inculcate yourself, practice yourself more and more to speak in English. When a baby used to speak into the mother tongue, वो ऐसे बोलता है का, बा, का. They are not immediately speaking कि मुझे पानी चाहिए या I wanted to drink water, right? Do mistakes a lot while you are speaking English. Make sure you are speaking English in front of someone who somewhat knows this language. आप उनके सामने इंग्लिश में बोलिए, वो आपको आपकी मिस्टेक्स बताएंगे. Whenever a small baby is trying to learn anything or trying to speaking anything at the age of 2 or 3 years, at that time what we used to say, no, 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 don't tell like I want, bhoo bhoo, like, or I would say I want water, water. We tell them ane pani ke bhai, this is what the water is, isko jal bolte hain, right? We used to rectify them. Similarly, when you are learning any new language, make sure that any person is there who can rectify you or correct you, I would say. The only way to learn English is the only way to speak English. Okay, any more questions?
यानी आपने वर्ड्स का बोला तो वर्ड्स कहाँ से मतलब शुरुआत करनी है वर्ड्स के लिए?
वर्ड्स की शुरुआत आप अगर मान लीजिए आप मुझे टोटली फॉलो कर रहे हैं इन लर्निंग इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज, देन ऑब्वियसली यू विल बी रीडिंग अ बुक, right? In that book, if you are reading a one chapter or one page, I would say one side of that page, in that one side there are, I can say, 80 to 90% chances, if my survey doesn't goes wrong, that there will be at least 3 to 5 words which you won't be knowing. If at all you are not reading books, you can also, check yourself in some stories or in some social media thing. Let's suppose you are, using Instagram, or you are using WhatsApp a lot, or you are into the friends group, like, right? So in that scenario, if any long story is coming up there, or if anyone has put up a status kind of thing in which you are getting a word and you are not knowing, don't ignore that word. इवन आई हैव सीन दैट स्टूडेंट्स जब बुक्स रीड करते हैं, एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम व्हाट दे यूज टू डू इज दे जस्ट रीड द बुक्स. अभी वो पहला पेज पढ़ते हैं, लेट्स सपोज देयर इज अ वर्ड दैट केम एज थ्रिल. नाउ इफ दे हैव रीडिंग थ्रिल, वो आगे पढ़ते जाएंगे, दे विल अज्यूम दैट वर्ड के ओके थ्रिल मतलब शायद डरावना. बट इन दैट सिनारियो शायद थ्रिल का मतलब डरावना ना हो, थ्रिल का मतलब हानिकारक हो सकता है, या तो इट कुड बी ऑल्सो लाइक अ किलिंग काइंड ऑफ थिंग. सो यू कैन नॉट अज्यूम. ट्राई टू गो टू द गूगल. अभी तो गूगल है, नो वन इज यूजिंग डिक्शनरीज दीज डेज except few students, but try to get that word into the Google, check out its meaning, write it down, that word in your book, right? So whenever you are reading anything, let's suppose WhatsApp के status किसी का read कर रहे हो, WhatsApp पे message read कर रहे हो, Instagram stories read कर रहे हो, even in the social media, I don't know how many social medias are there. I used to I am following this 2 or 3, but again in this scenario, check that what words have been using there and what are its meaning. Don't ignore the new words. In whole day, in the whole 24 hours, you are, I'm pretty sure you will be coming up to at least 2 to 3 words which are in the English format and you are not knowing the meaning. Or even if you are knowing the meaning, there are chances that there might be 1 or 2 more meanings which are taken into the consideration for one single word, राइट. सो जैसे अगर गुजराती में अगर बात करें तो पाणीना बे मतलब છે. पाणी मतलब वन इज द वाटर एंड अदर इज द करेज, right? So in English as well, if I talk about any one word, there are more than one meaning, right? So whatever words you are going through, don't ignore. आप एक बार ऑब्जर्व करना पूरे दिन में, पूरे 24 घंटे में एटलीस्ट 3 या 4 ऐसे वर्ड होंगे जो आपके सामने आएंगे एंड यू आर नॉट नोइंग देयर मीनिंग. So if you are not knowing their meaning, try to write it down in your book. और अगर मान लीजिए फिर भी पूरे दिन में वर्ड्स नहीं आते हैं, दैट मीन्स आप या तो बुक रीड नहीं कर रहे हो, आप एक्टिव नहीं हो अपने इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज के बारे में, सो यू आर नॉट गेटिंग दीज वर्ड्स. So we are completing here because it's 6 o'clock and we are running late. So I think there is, if you guys have any doubts, you can share me the feedbacks. You can contact me here and share your feedbacks at any point of time. If you are having any more doubts, you can write me on the WhatsApp number or in the email as well. I will surely reply you. And I think we should complete the session here because it's 6 o'clock. So hope you guys enjoyed this session and hope this was up to the mark according to the expectations you are having. Okay, so I'm keeping this contact page here. You can take a screenshot or anything if you want. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, guys, for being such a good audience. We are completing here. Thank you so much again.
थैंक यू मैम.